Hello and welcome to Barbarian Law, the YouTube channel. I'm your host, Kareem Eshtour. Welcome to Season 5, where we discuss issues affecting the game of soccer. Today, we are going to be discussing the abuse of soccer referees, something that I frequently experienced. So let's go through it quickly. Referee abuse has emerged as a growing concern in the sport, yet its prevalence and mental health consequences remain under-examined, particularly in amateur contexts. So I participated in this survey. There was 1,183 soccer referees across Ontario, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia. Abuse was widespread. 35% of the referees reported experiencing physical abuse. 94% reported experiencing verbal abuse while officiating. Contrary to the hypothesis, women and racialized referees did not experience higher rates of abuse than men or white referees. Men reported higher levels of physical abuse than women, and verbal abuse was positively associated with symptoms of anxiety, depression, whereas physical abuse was associated with depression but not anxiety. The effect sizes for verbal abuse for women were larger, and referees reported more frequent abuse. The referees that reported more frequent abuse exhibited higher anxiety and depression symptoms, particularly for frequent verbal abuse. These are pervasive and psychologically consequential issues. These harms are linked to routine working conditions, and protecting referees should be treated as a mental health and workplace safety priority. So as we discussed, let's get into it. Soccer is a platform for personal growth, helping players develop essential life skills such as self-regulation and cooperation, which contribute to long-term well-being. A troubling issue that has gained increasing attention in recent years is the widespread abuse of referees, and referees are subjected to verbal and physical abuse at alarming rates. Given that soccer is the most popular sport in Canada and one of the largest employers of referees nationwide, most studies have been focused on European professional leagues and elite referees, whereas referees in Canada are often working part-time with limited access to support networks. They also officiate in environments characterized by close physical proximity to players, coaches, and spectators, limited enforcement structures, and blurred boundaries between work and community life, in contrast to professional referees who typically officiate in well-supported environments. So mental health disorders are the leading cause of disability among adults worldwide, affecting 13% of the global adult population. One of the few studies that examined soccer referees surveyed 433 professional officials in Turkey and found that 25% had elevated depression scores, 19% had elevated anxiety scores, and 39% reported heightened stress symptoms. Next, we're going to discuss the effects as they are in Canada. So participation was recruited through the Provincial Soccer Association. I received an email to join. I completed an online questionnaire, and then let's get into the results. So the results indicated that in their most recent soccer season, 95% of soccer referees experienced abuse. And in reviewing this, the most common perpetrators of physical abuse were players, followed by coaches and parents and spectators. Verbal abuse was most common from coaches at 89%, 88% from players, 88% from parents, and 69% from spectators. So in this discussion, they decided that working conditions of soccer referees are not safe, and that physical abuse would lead to depression. However, it wouldn't lead to anxiety, whereas verbal abuse would lead to both anxiety and depression symptoms. So exposure to violence is a well-established pathway to poor mental health. Many referees officiate multiple matches per week across extended seasons from April and May to October. Repeated exposure to hostile and degrading interactions over time. Referees who reportedly experience more abuse suffer from more anxiety and depression. Verbal abuse was directly associated with a reduction in well-being, and that abuse was associated with the intention to quit refereeing. I also quit refereeing because I was physically abused. I didn't even know until they started asking me questions about it, then I started thinking about it, and then I realized I was abused. So an unexpected result was that older soccer referees reported experiencing more abuse than younger referees. It's definitely something that I can attribute to. As I got older, I was definitely subject to more abuse, but also I feel like it was during COVID. After COVID, people became less socialized. So let's get to the end of it. There was no significant differences between verbal abuse based on race or gender. However, men reportedly had significantly higher rates of physical abuse. One possible explanation is that public displays of aggression by men toward other men may be more socially sanctioned, and aggression directed towards women is more likely to be addressed. So in this present study, only 17% of the participants were women, so that could be an area of further exploration. But we found that referee mistreatment is not confined to a single perpetrator group. but rather reflects a broader culture of contestation towards officiating authorities. That's because the parents, the the coaches, they're all contributing to it. So referees occupy a visible rule enforcing role that constrains their ability to respond to provocation, placing them in a position similar to other frontline authority figures who are expected to absorb hostility without retaliation. In this sense, abuse towards referee may represent one manifestation of a more general erosion of respect for institutional authority, particularly in settings where accountability is diffuse and social sanctions are weak. If you do something to the ref, you're more likely to get away with it. That's the reality. That's why I quit. Framing referee as a workplace issue invites more considerations. Referees often lack access to human resource like protections despite performing essential labor under public scrutiny. Referees have largely been overlooked, and systemic issues affect Canadian soccer and burden officials well after the final issue. I think what we see here is that referees cannot properly address issues because if they do, like anytime I've had a parent that's yelled at me, and when I tried to deal with it, I got yelled at for sending the parent to the parking lot. So there's been no support for referees in Ontario, and I think it's continuing. So there's no reason for me to referee, but if you know someone who wants to ask me, and I can do my best to help you out. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this YouTube episode. I had to do it quickly because I have a limited amount of time, but we will discuss more in the next episode.